Welcome. This is Viewpoint. Tonight, the corridors of command are shifting and the drums of security reforms are echoing across the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. In a move that's shaking the country's defense hierarchy, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has sacked the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, replacing him with General Olufemi Oluyede. But that's not all. It's a full parade of a change of new service chiefs, new defense strategy, and new questions about what this actually means for Nigeria's national security architecture. Within hours of announcements, Defense Minister Mohammed Badaru was already meeting with the newly appointed chiefs, a signal that the president's agenda for security reforms isn't waiting for tomorrow. Meanwhile, praise and politics are already colliding in the public square. Pardon, the Pan-African United and Developmental Network has lauded Tinubu's appointment as a major boost of national security. And from the opposition flank, Okai Austin, a fiery PDP voice, surprisingly commended the appointment of Major General Shuaibu as Chief of Army Staff. When opposition and government suddenly find common grounds, you know the nation is actually paying attention. That's not all also. Applause from the next stage is actually crucial. The president has forwarded the names of these service chiefs to the Senate for screening and confirmation. All eyes will be on the Red Chamber, where the lawmakers will decide whether to stamp this new era of command with legislative approval or send a different message entirely. Tonight, we unpack the strategy, the symbolism, and the silent politics behind the sacking of the new appointments. Is this a bold test or reset for Nigeria's security framework, or just another rotation of power in fatigues? Join us shortly. This is Viewpoint, and I'm your host, Odiawa AI.
Fine, sir.
Welcome back. Now, that was the video to the newly appointed service chiefs arriving the Yaso Villa to meet with Tinubu. Tonight, the Commander-in-Chief has pulled a move that actually echoes through the barracks and actually the Senate chambers and the quiet corridors of Abuja. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has sacked the nation's service chiefs, including the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa. In their place, appointed a new generation of military leadership. For some, it's a reshuffle long overdue. For others, it's a statement of power, precision, and political timing. But the question tonight is this: what is Tinubu really recalibrating? The security architecture or the political balance of Nigeria's armed forces? Let's start with the facts and not the drama actually here. According to a statement by the president's media aide, Sunday Dare, the new lineup looks like this. General Olufemi Oluyede takes over as Chief of Defense Staff, replacing General Christopher Musa. Major General W. Shuaibu becomes Chief of Army Staff. Air Vice Marshal S.K. Aneke is the new Chief of Air Staff. Rear Admiral I. Abbas assumes command as Chief of Naval Staff, and notably EAP Undendeye remains Chief of Defense Intelligence, a continuity point in a wave of change. Now, the statement is careful, diplomatic, thanking the outgoing chiefs for patriotic service and leadership, while charging the new appointees to justify the confidence reposed in them. But in politics, especially Nigerian politics, every reshuffle tells a story beneath the official statement. Let's be clear, this isn't just a military adjustment, it's a political realignment. Every president since 1999, from Obasanjo to Buhari, or even has used military appointments to send one clear message: control of command structure, which actually means control of the state stability. Tinubu moves fits this traditional pace perfectly. By replacing the service chiefs barely 2 years into their tenure, the president is signaling that loyalty and efficiency and also alignment with national security vision are non-negotiable. But more importantly, this reshuffle gives Tinubu's fresh eyes, fresh alliances, and fresh accountability in a military system that has long struggled with insurgency fatigue, inter-service rivalry, and institutions' resistance to change. He probably might not just be changing names, he is actually reconfiguring influence. Nigeria's security landscape remains complex, from banditry in the northwest to insurgency in the northeast, separatist tensions in the southeast, and communal flashpoints across the middle belt. The military's credibility has actually been stretched thin. Now, Tinubu knows that to strengthen his political legitimacy, he must first strengthen public safety. So when the statement comes from him saying, in furtherance of efforts to strengthen the national security architecture, is not just a bureaucratic language, it's a recognition that security success equals political survival. And that's why every appointment here actually matters, not just who got the job, but what region they actually represent, what constituency they speak to, and what loyalty they actually owe to the commander-in-chief here in question. Now, let's look beyond the ranks now. Every new chief brings with him not just a uniform on his body, but a message. General Oluyede, the new chief of defense staff, known for his reformist stance and operational discipline, suggests a tilt towards modernization. Major General Shuaibu, now chief of army staff, comes with a record of hands-on command, signaling a possible shift from political balancing to field performance. And then there's Rear Admiral Abbas and Air Vice Marshal Aneke, both relatively quiet officers known more for efficiency than flamboyancy. Now, in a country where military appointments often ignite ethnic debates, Tinubu's choices appear calibrated, not just to balance the map, but to balance perception here. Because in today's Nigeria, the politics of the uniform is just as powerful as the politics of the ballot box. Now, what actually happened next as a result of the ballot box and the uniform here being ethnicized? The president forwards the names to the Senate for screening and confirmation. The upper chamber is expected to sit on the issue. And unless something seismic happens, confirmation is merely a formality, or not just a formality, but formality which should actually matter. It's the Senate's constitutional nod that actually turns the president's intent into institutional reality, and it allows the commander-in-chief to say, I did it by the book. Still, we must ask this salient question. Will this new military hierarchy deliver? If this reshuffle fails to translate into real security gains, it won't just be the generals under fire, it will be the chief executive, the president here himself. Every administration has its moments of reckoning. For President Tinubu, this may be one of them. By resetting the leadership of the armed forces, he has placed the burden of proof squarely on his own shoulders. Because in politics of power, you own the results of your choices. It's easy to hire, but rather harder to deliver. It's easy to announce a new general, but it's harder to silence the guns in Zamfara, the kidnappers in Kaduna, and of course the fears on the highway in the southeast. So as the Senate confirms and as the new chiefs take command, one truth actually stands tall. Nigeria doesn't need another reshuffle, it actually needs results as we speak. Stay with us. When we return, we will dive into a story that is stirring both praise and politics on equal sides based on equal measure. But beyond the praise, what's the political message behind these commendations? Is this simply goodwill or a signal that the president's reshuffle is earning early validation across political lines? When we come back, we break it down number by number, motive by motive. This is still Viewpoint. You're welcome back. Now, the power equation within Nigeria's defense architecture has shifted, like I began by saying earlier on, and the ripple effects are already visible in praises from the State House to the streets. With President Tinubu once again pulling a decisive move, appointing a new set of service chiefs, signaling what many analysts now call the second phase of his renewed hope agenda. Now, let's break it down number by number. Facts by facts. The Pan-African United Development Network, PUDIN, was among the first to issue a statement praising President Tinubu's decision. Now, to quote their words, they called it a strategic boost to national security. According to PUDIN, this reshuffle isn't just about rejoicing or replacing names, it's about redefining Nigeria's defense posture, aligning military leadership with the president's renewed hope vision for stability and progress. In plain terms, this is not just a random rotation, it's a recalibration, a move to strengthen professionalism, discipline, and synergy across the armed forces. And here's where it gets interesting. The tone of public reaction, because for once, is not just the usual suspects on one side of the fence across political divides. Even critics are actually acknowledging that the logic behind the replacement which the president actually picked is actually okay. Comrade Usman Okai Austin, a well-known opposition voice, commended the appointment also of General Waidi Shuaibu as Chief of Army Staff. And not just in polite terms, he actually called Shuaibu a no-nonsense officer, a square peg in a square hole. Now, that phrase might sound cliche, but in Nigerian politics, for PDP aligning to a figure to openly praise an APC-led presidential appointment, that's not actually a headline we should toy with. Let's talk about General Shuaibu for a moment. He's not new to the front lines as the theater commander of operations Hadinkai in the Northeast. He led several successions of successful counterinsurgency operations, stabilizing territories that had been flashpoints of terror. And that's the difference here. This appointment speaks not just to hierarchy, but it speaks to merit. To experience that, there's need to be tested under fire, not earned by protocol. So when Okai says he will not fail in his assignments, it isn't just political courtesy. It's a recognition that performance for once actually may be meeting position here. But here's where the conversation turns deeper and more political. Every change in the security hierarchy is a statement of intent. And Tinubu's message here is in two folds. First, he tells the military professionalism over politics. Then secondly, he tells the nation security is actually my scorecard here. Let's face it, in Nigeria, the security index is not just a policy issue, it's a political survival tool. From the farmer in Benue to the trader in Onitsha, to the commuter in Abuja or Lagos, safety isn't abstract, it's a daily life or a daily thing. So when Porden says these appointments will drive stability and progress, they are not offering applause, they are validating the political weight of this reshuffle. And make no mistake, the optics matter. A decisive president replacing top brass signal control, actually. It protects authority here or projects authority. And in a democracy still grappling with perception gaps, control can actually look a lot like competence. But here's the challenge. New names don't automatically mean new results. The expectations are sky high. Nigerians actually want to see fewer attacks, safer highways, restored trust in the security forces. And the president himself has raised the bar, charging these new service chiefs to justify the confidence reposed in them. Now, that's not just a presidential directive, it's a national test. So as we watch this transition unfold, a new question actually arises. Can General Oluyede, the new Chief of Defense Staff, harmonize the forces under one strategic command? Can General Shuaibu translate battlefield discipline into nationwide confidence? And will the synergy across the Army, Navy, and Air Force finally deliver the peace that Nigerians have been promised for years? And so, as the nation recalibrates its chain of command, one thing is certain: President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has redrawn the security map of Nigeria. From the sacking of General Christopher Musa to the rise of General Lufemi Oluyede, from Badaru's swift meeting in Abuja to the Senate's confirmation showdown, it appears not to just be a reshuffle, but a statement. It's a signal that the commander-in-chief is tightening the bolts of power, realigning loyalty, and testing the machinery that guards the republic. Even critics are endorsing, calling it a boost to national security. In Nigeria's political theater, that's not an applause, that's a surprise actually. But the real verdict begins not on paper, not in press releases, but in how these service chiefs deliver safety, discipline, and trust to a nation waiting for proof, not promises. I've been your host, Odiawa AI, and the show has been Viewpoint. Thanks for watching.